Welcome to the Higher Power Podcast, presented by Higher Power Sports PT, the show dedicated to helping active individuals like you unlock your full potential through expert insights on injury prevention, performance enhancement, and recovery. Kurt Kessler is a board-certified specialist in sports physical therapy and an athletic trainer. In each episode, he and his guests bring you the latest evidence-based strategies to help you move better, feel stronger, and stay injury-free. Let's learn together.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Powered Podcast. Let's talk about one of the hottest topics in sports medicine right now, red light therapy. You've probably seen it. Athletes sitting in front of panels, wearing helmets, shining lights on their knees, their shoulders, their hamstrings. There are now commercials on TV for it. And the claim is always the same. It's supposed to speed up healing, it reduces inflammation, it helps in recovery. But here's the question that I care about, and the question that you should care about too. Does it actually work, or are we just shining expensive flashlights on our injuries? Today, I'm going to break down this topic the only way that I know how, not with opinions, not with marketing, not with influencer takes. I'm going to share what the current research shows. Just a quick caveat though, research can be very ambiguous. You'll see some examples here soon, but people can bend research and extrapolate it in ways that make it a little bit misleading. Someone could read one study supporting it and take it as, oh, it works for everybody in every injury, when really the article was really low quality and it only focused on one type of injury. When looking at research, there are like 5 or 6 levels of evidence. So like expert opinion is the lowest level, and systematic reviews, they aggregate information from many studies and give us the highest level of evidence. For the articles that I pulled and that I'll talk about today, I started from randomized control trials, which is like the middle of the pack of evidence. It's basically the lowest level of evidence that I would start to consider trusting. And then, of course, including articles with much higher levels of evidence. So then I'm going to tell you exactly how this fits into real-world sports rehab. Some quick context here. Red light therapy, it's also called photobiomodulation, uses specific wavelengths of light to influence cellular activity. The theory is that it affects mitochondrial function, which is just the energy producers in a cell, ATP production, which is the energy that cells use, and tissue healing. This all sounds great, but in medicine, we don't necessarily care about what sounds good. We care about what we can support with evidence. Here's the first thing that might surprise you. The strongest evidence for red light therapy is not actually in sports medicine. It's in cancer care. There are multiple high-quality systematic reviews of randomized trials showing that red light therapy helps prevent and reduce oral mucositis in patients undergoing chemotherapy and radiation. In 2025, there's a systematic review by Para Rojas et al. Looking at 13 randomized control trials over 800 patients, and it found that it significantly reduced both the incidence and severity of oral mucositis, with most studies being low risk of bias. There's another meta-analysis by Shen et al. In 2024 showing similar results in head and neck cancer patients. So let's be clear, the modality is not fake. It absolutely has real physiological effects, but it's just how we use this, or what effects are we expecting to have for what we're actually using it for. The next best evidence for red light therapy is for hair loss. And no, I'm not going to use it on my head. I am handsome enough already. Imagine if I had hair. Anyways, a meta-analysis by Liu et al. In 2019 showed increased hair density in androgenic alopecia. And a randomized control trial by Fan et al. In 2018 showed improvements in hair count, thickness, and coverage over 24 weeks. So again, it's not fake, but it doesn't mean that it works for everything that it's marketed for. So now let's bring this into the sports world. Talking about pain. Everybody looking for pain relief. Everybody looking for the quick fix for pain. One of the most cited papers in this space is a Lancet meta-analysis by Chow et al. In 2009, which is now 15, 16 years ago, looking at 16 randomized trials on neck pain. What they found was significant pain reduction in both acute and chronic neck pain, with effects lasting up to several weeks after treatment. So from a clinical standpoint, red light therapy can help with pain. But here is the key distinction, and this matters a lot in sports medicine. It can help with pain, but it does not automatically mean it fixes the problem causing the pain. This ties directly into something I talk about all the time. Do you want to feel better or do you want to get better? Because red light therapy, at best, in this context, is helping you feel better. Let's go a step farther. In 2024, a meta-analysis by Oliveira et al. Looked at red light therapy for knee arthritis. What they found was helped reduce pain and possible improvements in function. But here's the most important line from that paper. The evidence was very low certainty, and it should not be used as a standalone treatment. That's really important because what it tells us is that this is an adjunct tool, not a primary driver of outcomes. So if someone's using red light therapy, but they're not addressing strength or load management or movement quality, they are missing the entire point. Now let's get into something we deal with a lot, and that's tendinopathy or problems with tendons, tendon pain. In 2021, a meta-analysis by Tripodi et al. Looking at 17 randomized trials found red light therapy plus exercise was better than sham, or like a fake red light treatment plus exercise. But it did not outperform other active treatments plus exercise. The evidence quality ranged from very low to moderate. So here's the translation. If you're already doing good rehab, red light therapy might help a little bit, but it's not replacing, talking about tendons here, not replacing a heavy, slow resistance rehab. It's not replacing progressive loading. It's not replacing tendon capacity building. And this is where I start to see things go wrong because athletes, and not just athletes, but we as a society will end up chasing passive modalities instead of progressive adaptation. Little story about that later. So let's hit the big one now, and that's recovery, performance, muscle soreness after a hard workout. This is what most athletes are using red light for. And this is where the evidence starts to get a little bit shaky. 2016 meta-analysis by Nampo et al. Looked at phototherapy for muscle soreness and recovery. The conclusion was that there was no consistent improvements in strength, swelling, or function. And there may be some minor biochemical changes, but not really meaningful ones that will change any kind of outcome. Another meta-analysis by Vannon et al. In 2018 looked at performance and fatigue across 39 randomized trials. They found some positive effects, but the evidence quality ranged from very low to moderate with massive variability in protocols. So here's the real takeaway. There might be something there, but we do not have consistent, reliable, and transferable results. And in sports medicine, if it's not consistent, if it's not something that is easily replicated, then it's really not something that I'm interested in building a program around. Here's the biggest issue with red light therapy. There is no standardized protocol. Different studies use different wavelengths, different intensities, different durations, different frequencies. So when someone says red light therapy works, my response is, which one? At what dose? For what condition? Because those details mean quite a bit when we're choosing interventions. So let's bring this home. If I'm working with an athlete, here's where red light therapy might fit in. Some reasonable use cases for short-term pain relief, adjunct to tendon rehab, possibly post-session recovery if it's available, but I wouldn't rely on it. What I'm not using it for is I'm not using it to replace strength training. I'm not using it to replace load management. I'm not using it to speed up healing as the primary intervention. I'm not using it for long-term rehab or performance development, because the foundation always comes back to load, capacity, and progression. So here's my answer. Red light therapy is not fake. It does something, it does things, but it's not the miracle tool that it's being marketed as. It lives kind of in this middle ground. It's useful in specific contexts, but it's overhyped in most others. And if you take one thing away from this episode, it's this. The real question is not, does red light therapy work? The real question is, for what? Compared to what? And does it actually change the outcomes that matter? Because in sports medicine, feeling better is pretty easy. We can rest you, we can pump you up full of medicine, but getting better should always be the goal, not just feeling better. And I've seen and heard about athletes going and paying $350 or more per session for red light therapy. And it honestly breaks my heart that people are putting their money and resources into something that is so poorly supported. I've heard athletes raving and telling their buddies how they feel great after using it. And like, if it helps, great. I'm not going to argue with something that helps someone feel better. But I'd encourage you to go back and listen to episode 4 with Sarah Neal, where we talk about recovery. Listen to episode 16, where I talk about a number of different tools that are marketed to be the thing to get you feeling better and overcome your ailments, but really fall in that category of short-term relief. My only goal in doing these podcasts is to bring accurate information so that we can all decide how to use these tools appropriately. And so far, I have not found a better solution for pain and injury than a well-constructed rehab program. If you're struggling with pain or an injury that you haven't been able to kick and it's affecting your life, find my info in the show notes, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you and try to help you find a solution. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Higher Powered Podcast. Thanks to all for listening. Like I said, if you're looking for ways to connect or have any questions or need help or guidance with anything, you can find my information in the show notes. Please do not hesitate to reach out, and we will see you next time.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Higher Powered Podcast, presented by Higher Powered Sports PT. We hope you gained valuable insights on how to stay strong, move better, and prevent injury, all backed by expert knowledge in sports physical therapy and athletic training. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Your support helps us bring more evidence-based tips and strategies to active individuals just like you. For more resources or to connect with us, head over to hpsportspt.com. That's hpsportspt.com. Remember, you've got the power to perform at your best. Keep training smarter, recovering faster, and living stronger. Just a reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your health or treatment plan. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you next time on the Higher Powered Podcast.